Welcome. This is the in-person meeting of the Board of Interpreters for the Deaf, Deafblind, and Hard of Hearing in Lansing, Michigan, April 18, 2023. That is also being live streamed and recorded. My name is Colleen Curtis. I am an administrative law specialist with the Michigan Qualified Interpreter Program within the Bureau of Community and Health Systems. Thank you to the board members and the members of the public who are in attendance today, and to those joining us by Zoom. Before we get started, a few items I would like to go over. As mentioned, this is an in-person board meeting that is also being live streamed for members of the public to participate who are unable to attend in person. The agenda and Zoom information are posted on the Michigan Qualified Interpreter website found at michigan.gov/BCHS. After the meeting, the approved minutes will be posted on the website. The in-person board meeting and live stream are being provided with ASL and captioning. People with disabilities requiring additional accommodations to participate in the meeting can email laura-bchs-qualified-interpreter@michigan.gov. For the public comment part of the meeting, the in-person audience will give comments first, then those on Zoom. We are using the Zoom webinar platform, and your video and audio are currently shut off. When it is time, participants on Zoom who wish to comment should type in comments in the Q&A box. Additionally, board members and department staff are not permitted to respond to public comment. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes, please. Now I will turn to the department staff member, Heather Keel, to call the meeting to order.
Good morning, everyone. It is 10:09 a.m. I will go ahead first and call roll and then read the communication policy. Mitch Halali,
Present.
April Davidson,
Present.
Sarah Houston,
Present.
Leslie Pertz. Not present. Miriam Andrade Cuevas, not present. Diana McKittrick,
Present.
James Check,
Present.
Rowan O'Doherty,
Present.
Linda Sikora.
Here.
We do have a quorum. With that, I will go ahead and read the communication policy. The following communication policy is proposed for the Board of Interpreters for the Deaf, Deafblind, and Hard of Hearing, and visitors to facilitate successful discussion and debate during the meeting proceedings. It is intended that by following this policy, communication will be achieved for everyone present and will improve the effectiveness of the meeting. Board members should wait to be recognized by the chairperson to speak. The chairperson will recognize the speaker by name and allow for adequate discussion of all issues brought before the board. At any time during the meeting, if any board member or public attendee needs adjustment in communication facilitation, they should get the attention of the chair by raising their hand. All voice votes will be taken by raising of the hand. Avoid sidebar conversations. No comments from the public will be entertained during board discussion and should be held for the public comment section of the agenda. Board members are not permitted to respond to public comment, and public comments are limited to 3 minutes. With that, we will move on to agenda item. Bear with me 1 minute. With agenda item number 3, approval of agenda. Approval of agenda. Can we get a motion? Do we have a second?
This is Diana, I second.
All in favor? Okay. There being no objections, the motion carries. Okay. And Diana. Okay, with that, we move on to agenda item number 4. Which is election of chair and vice chair. Do we have a nomination?
This is Sarah. I would like to nominate Mitch Halali to be president. Or chairperson, you know what I mean.
Do we have a second?
It's April, I second that.
All in favor? Oh, I apologize. I have to do a roll call for this one. Michelli,
I can't vote,
Abstain.
so I'm abstaining.
Leslie Pertz, not. Miriam is not present. Diana McKittrick,
I support,
James Chuck,
also in favor.
Rowan O'Doherty,
Yes,
Linda Sikora.
I support.
With that, the motion carries that Mitch will continue being the chair of the board. And
Mitch, thank you.
the next is the election of the vice chair. Do we have a nomination?
This is Diana. I'd like to nominate Sarah as vice chair.
Do we have a second?
This is James Check, second.
Okay, I will call roll to approve the nomination of vice chair of Sarah Houston, Mitch Halali,
Support,
April Davidson,
in favor,
Sarah Houston.
abstain.
Okay. Diana McKittrick was the first,
I'll support.
and Rowan O'Doherty,
Support,
and Linda Sikora.
support as well.
Okay, with that, Sarah Houston has been reelected as vice chair.
Sarah, thank you, everyone.
Moving on to the next agenda item, the approval of the minutes from the January 31st, 2023 meeting. Do we have a first?
This is Sarah. I move that we approve the minutes from that meeting.
Do we have a second?
This is Rowan. I have a question. We're new members here. We weren't here in January, so I don't know that we can really be in support or not in support of that motion. And this is Diana. I'd like to ask a question as well. I was in Florida. I wasn't officially at the meeting, so I mean, I heard the meeting. I don't know if it would be appropriate for me to weigh in. This is Mitch speaking. What I'm hearing, that's fine. This is just part of the formal process of approving the minutes. It doesn't mean that you support or you agree with everything that was in the minutes. That's my understanding, correct?
This is Diana. I second that.
All in favor? Okay, the approval of the minutes carries. With that, we will move on to old business, the July board meeting. Do you want board discussion or just a motion, Mitch?
This is Mitch. I'd like to have some board discussion. Just, we have some new members here, so it might be appropriate to do that. So I think April brought up an issue at the July meeting, and it was because of a conflict with the National RID Conference. So she had made a motion to suggest that we postpone that. Well, we were going to ask, people who are available on the board, what about August 9th? Does that seem feasible? And if yes, then, can we see a motion for going ahead and canceling the July 19th board meeting, 2023? Sorry, July 26th board meeting. And then we'll establish a new board meeting on August 9th of this year. Is there any motion to do so? This is April. I'll make a motion to do that. Move the meeting to August 9th. This is Mitch. Do we have a second? Okay, so
Diana and Sarah second as well.
any discussion needed? Okay, so we'll vote on that. All who are in support? Any opposed? Okay, I see none opposed. The motion carries.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to the next agenda item. New business and the department update. With that, I call Heather Hosey.
Good morning, everyone. Colleen, is the PowerPoint, are you pulling up now? Just 1 second while we get that started. Yes. Right. Well, good morning. If you can't hear me, let me know, but I think it's projecting okay right now. Colleen, can you go to the next slide? So we have a little bit of repeat information on our program today, just to, for those members that are newer. So we do have, we kind of outlined what our program entails and oversees. And we proctor the TEP and BEI exams. We certify individuals that are qualified interpreters. We process and renew applications for sign language interpreters. And then the accepted credentials in Michigan currently are RID, EIPA, and then the BEI interpreter credential, which includes levels 1, 2, and 3. Next slide, please. So we're excited to welcome 3 new board members. We've got Linda and also Rowan and James. So thank you for joining us and welcome. And other things that we have going on we wanted to mention that our exam scheduling is up to date. Individuals can schedule with approved applications. So I know we've had a backlog in the past, but currently we're excited to announce that we're pretty much up to date on all of our exams. Renewal processing will continue to allow those expired individuals to stay on the registry. So I know that's been a problem in the past. So since renewal season's coming up, we just wanted to mention that we'll continue to do that for processing purposes. Next slide, please. Because we are coming into renewal season, we wanted to highlight just some renewal information and go over a couple frequently asked questions and items that come up on a regular basis. So just to kind of go over the process. So all of our certifications renew annually currently. We do have RID and EIPA renewal is by June 30th. So that season, like I said, is coming up very soon. We'll start accepting applications. Is it end of May, Colleen, that we start accepting? Yes. And then the interpreters that are certified with RID and EIPA credentials who are not able to submit a completed renewal application within 45 days following the date of expiration, there is a reinstatement fee. So we just wanted to mention that. And with your RID submission of CEUs, if the interpreter has an endorsement, that'd be the only time that you'd submit those CEUs for RID. With EIPA, they submit 2 CEUs every renewal season. And then BEI, the certificate expires annually as well. But those individuals are going to renew on the date of their initial certification. CEUs are required for that for renewals, and anybody who's lapsed in renewals 90-day calendar days or more, the individual is required to retest. And then we'll go over endorsements as well further in the PowerPoint. So next slide, Colleen. This is just a quick picture of the renewal application, so you know what to look for on our website. Next slide, please. And then the renewal application, there's sometimes confusion with additional documents. So we just wanted to mention that all applicants will submit credentials additions. They'll be complete the Michigan Interpreter Certification application on our website. That's kind of the same that it's always been, but there is that renewal application out there. No additional fee is required for additional credentials if it's done during the renewal season. And then if you do not wish to renew a credential, that's something that we do have questions on, that you would just attach a statement stating that you would you don't want to renew a certain credential that you might have. And then lastly, add endorsements. You'd attach the application with the required fee for those endorsements that you'd like. And then moving on to applicants with a BEI credential. Like I mentioned, there's 2 CEUs that that for the current year only that you would submit. And then CEU acceptable proof of acceptable proof, certificate or signed letter of attendance. And then also the RID transcript with the highlighted courses being used to fulfill your CEUs. And then I just kind of mentioned the late fees and reinstatement fees. So there's a late fee of $45. And then if you have to be reinstated where you have to retest, it's $170. Next slide, please. And then applicants with the RID credential, this additional documents that we need for renewals is a valid renewed RID membership credential. We know that we're getting away from the cards, so there's a couple different ways that you can submit that information, such as a letter from RID that you can get on the website. Just mentioning the late fee of $45 for the RID, same reinstatement fee as the BEI. And then the RID membership must be renewed with the Registry of Interpreters for Deaf before renewing the Michigan certificate. So that's important to remember. And then applicants with an EIPA credential, they also have to do 2 CEUs for the current year that they submit. And then the acceptable proof is the letter of attendance or the RID transcript with the courses that you're using to renew your CE's requirements. Same late fees for that as well. Those, I know that's kind of a repeat information, but it does come up as questions and there's some confusion on that. So just wanted to mention for each breakdown. Next slide, please. Renewal of RID credentials. So there's, we know there's recent changes to the physical cards, so you can submit proof of RID verification letter. There's also a way you can download the PDF of the RID credential, and it shows the type of credentials with the expiration. So that's really important that we know which credentials you have and the expiration. And then if you print the document and send a hard copy with the renewal application via US mail, that'd be excellent. That helps. And I know that's a point of contention, having that mail system, but we are hoping to get that updated and changed. So working on that. I know that's been a promise for a while, but we haven't forgotten. And then just a note that we know Credly, is that how you say that, Colleen? Credly, okay. We know that's out there for verification, but we're not able to access that at this time. Next slide, please. So continuing education units, we just mentioned the Rule 81 talks about the state certified qualified interpreters, which are interpreters certified through the RID who submit CEs needed for endorsement purposes, should complete 8 CEs during a 4-year cycle. So there's 5 CEs for professional studies, 2 CEs for ethics, and then 1 for general studies or electives. And these are things that we get questions on quite often, so that's why we wanted to just touch on it. Rule 83 talks about endorsements. And so there are 3 endorsement minimal amounts, medical and mental health is 2, legal 2, and deaf and blind 8.8. I'm sorry, be a big jump. Specialties, if you're performing educational interpreting is 0.8. And then just some notes to mention for CEs that make sure we include copies of the certificate of attendance, signed letter of attendance, or RID transcript. And then also you could highlight the courses on the RID transcript like we mentioned, and then CEs are counted per the rules within a 4-year cycle of the date of certification for renewal date at the end of the 4-year cycle. Next slide, please. So some of the things that we tend to see slowing the process down is the when we're renewing RID and EIPA is the incorrect fees are submitted. So we just kind of outlined on this slide the fees that need to be submitted depending on if you're submitting on time or if it's late or a reinstatement. And then RID credentials, most up-to-date renewal credential, like we mentioned, having that RID certification letter. Initial certification, some things that get missed are the photocopy of the government ID that indicates that you're 18 years of age. Also an official college transcript showing the degree that was obtained. And then the copy of the credentials. As far as endorsements, things that sometimes get missed is proving the proof of passing an English competency test. Or the official college transcript showing a bachelor's degree or higher, and then copy of the skills development course that focuses on sign language and interpretation of medical vocabulary. So those are some things that we tend to see missed. Next slide, please, Colleen. Frequently asked questions, can we pay online or email the application? We cannot pay online, unfortunately. But like I said, we are hoping to update our registry. And we actually just yesterday met with a group to discuss, if possibilities for building a new system. So exciting that we're getting there, but hope to see that in the coming years very soon. And another frequently asked question is, what is my 4-year cycle and my subtotals for CEs? So our current system doesn't display that publicly, which is kind of a pain for that 4-year cycle. So we know that's hard to keep track of. Our team can provide that date if interpreters reach out and they have questions about when their 4-year cycle is. So that's something we can provide. It is helpful if the interpreters are able to hang on to like 4 years worth of documentation. I know that's kind of a pain. Our new system, fingers crossed, we'll be able to keep track of that. Oops, it went away. The PowerPoint went away, Colleen. Technical difficulties, one moment. And then we frequently get questions about, does RID, power, privilege, and oppression count for your Michigan ethics CEs? And the answer to that is yes. That's an easy one. So next slide. As we typically have gone over in the past, these are our test stats and passing and fail rates. So we've got about a 50% pass rate for our TEP, the English proficiency exam. And then our BEI performance test results we have highlighted here. So the BEI 1, we've got about a 53% pass rate, BEI 2, a 38% pass rate, and the BEI 3, currently we only had 2 that took it and neither that passed. This is from October 2022 till now. And then we do have some pending test results, which are at the bottom of the slide that we're waiting to hear from Texas on. Next slide, please. And then this goes over some of the accomplishments and the renewal information. So for all categories that we renewed from October 2021 till now, till September 2022. So that fiscal year 22 was 754. We had 533 RIDs that we renewed, BEIs 171. EIPA 50, and then DB 102, MMH 336, and legal 46. So those are the renewal categories. Next slide, please. And so just wanted to mention some accomplishments and announcements from BCHS's standpoint. We do continue to offer the TEP exam and the BEI exams continually. I know that was on hold a little while ago during the pandemic, but we are offering more than our partners with BPL so that we can get people through the process faster, hopefully. So we are continuing to do that, offering more days per month for testing. Updated schedule can be found on our website, which we included the link here. And the schedule of the BEI performance exam is based on the submission of a completed application. So if someone's struggling with that, they just have to submit the completed application that's online. And then also after the Michigan BEI performance exam application is approved, the applicant will be contacted by our team and will reach out and provide some test dates for them. And then with our upcoming exam scheduling during renewal season, sometimes our schedule gets a little bit busy. And so we're working to make sure we try and keep up on BEI exams. But just know that with renewal season, we might have to slow down just a little bit, but we'll pick right back up after renewal season. But they'll still be conducted. Next slide, please. And then we have noticed an increased number of TEP exams that were being offered in May. I'm sorry, we didn't notice that. We are offering more TEP exams in May because we know that we have people that are going to be graduating. And so we'd like to offer a few more TEP exams, which we'll be doing. And then we also created a preliminary work group to discuss our rules. And so we're working on that. We've met, I think, 3 times now with that work group. And so we're continuing to do that, and we'll be getting updates for you all as we move along in the process. Hope to see that coming out pretty soon. And then we plan to send out just a last FYI, we want to send out a renewal helpful hints email that just kind of goes over some of the things that we discussed today, because we know that the renewal process can be really confusing and causes a few questions. So hopefully that'll help. We'll see. And then next slide, Colleen. And then this is just our contact information. And if anyone has any questions, Larry and I are here for questions. Yes, Diana.
This is Mitch. Go ahead, Diana.
This is Diana speaking. I'm just curious, as far as the deaf interpreters, or that potential of doing that, or as far as certifying deaf interpreters, are we working on that? If so, or if there's any certified deaf interpreters that are working within the state, do we have any of those numbers?
Colleen, do you want to take that one? I don't think we have the numbers, but we might.
Yeah, we do not have any numbers available today.
So are we, I know we've talked about, I can't remember if Texas, if we're going to meet with them. I think we had some initial discussions about deaf interpreters in Michigan.
Yes, we were gonna ask Texas if they've rolled out their deaf certification performance exam to other BEI states, or if you have to, or not have to, but if there's an option, people would travel to Texas and take the performance exam for the deaf certification. Because Texas does do deaf certification, I believe.
And we can see if we can get some numbers for deaf interpreters in Michigan, if we have any, for our next board meeting.
Diana. The reason that I'm asking is because you've done all this work, which is amazing. You've done an incredible job putting this all together. So I just don't want you to have to go back and have to change things because we haven't added the deaf interpreters into this. I do know that there's several CDIs, RID certified CDIs who are working in Michigan. So I was expecting to see those numbers in this column here in this chart. That wasn't in there. So it's unfortunate that we have to pay interpreters out of state, certified deaf interpreters out of state to come here and do the work when we could have had that done here, but that's my biased opinion.
And this is Mitch speaking. So yeah, we know we have CDIs registered here in Michigan. We know that, but they don't live in the state of Michigan. So you are correct. This here does not reflect the CDIs. We want to know how many CDIs are registered in our state.
Okay, I'm making a note of that to see if
Correct,
we.
Diana?
So thank you for that comment, and absolutely we can look into that and see if we can get some information in the future.
This is Mitch. Any other questions? Yes, Rowan? Yeah, this is Rowan. I'd like to add, as far as CDIs that we have registered in the state, and also how many CDIs live actually in the state of Michigan as well.
I'm just making.
Diana, I can answer this question. Out of state CDIs, I can't tell you that. As far as CDIs from Michigan, zero, absolute zero.
Oh, we had one. This is Rowan.
No, their credentials expired.
This is Mitch. Sarah, you had a comment?
Of course, I've got lots of questions. So let's talk about the EIPA. Why don't we offer the written test here in Michigan?
Is that the one, Colleen, that we're working with MDE on?
So this is Colleen speaking. It's my understanding that Michigan did offer it in the past. When the program was transferred to us, we were told that. And then since then, I believe Michigan Department of Education has been looking for a way to bring that back to Michigan, to a site or something. I don't have any new information on that, what they're doing.
So with that, are we able to proctor this test, the written part of it? We do that for the EI. Are we able to do that for the EIPA? Are we able to take that over? Because we require it. If we require something, if you're going to be working in a school, then why aren't we offering this test that we're requiring as far as it written and the performance? So that way individuals don't have to travel out of state to do that. And then even like talking about going to Texas for the CDI, to be able to sit for the exam. I mean, who's gonna pay for that? That's not acceptable. So we need to be offering what we're requiring by law. We require this. So in order to be in compliance, we should be offering that here in the state of Michigan. So I wanted to put that out. Thank you.
Yeah, and
No, go ahead.
just a quick comment on that. We have asked MDE to participate in the board meetings to give us an update. So we're getting there. But I absolutely hear you that if we ask for them to have those credentials, we'd like to have it offered in Michigan, but we'll get more information for you on that.
This is April. Can I add to that, just to let you know? There are some colleges here in Michigan, a few that are in the process right now of trying to do just that, where they can proctor the EIPA written as well as the performance. I think right now we just have one place in Grand Rapids, where you can take the EIPA performance. We're trying to establish more. It is a slow process, but hopefully soon we'll have several locations.
People have been coming to me and asking me about that. And also looking for locations that don't have the high proctoring fees. So that's a big component as well. My other question here is, when we talk about the renewal process, we know that we're talking about the extension of the time as far as the deadline. So how long is that window for the extension? Well, hold on, let me say this again. I've heard this. The reason I'm bringing this up. Let me try to think about what I'm trying to say here. Hold on.
So it's like if a person's just continuing to work. Because they passed the date, but they didn't get checked on their stuff, so they're still working, it's what's been brought to me. That's how it's brought. So I'm wondering, how long is that grace period of time where you guys are a little back and trying to catch up? How long do you have
Sure.
before, you say, okay, stop playing, we're just done, you know what I mean?
Right. Yep. So if somebody submits on June 30th, obviously July 1st, they're going to be expired because we haven't, been able, there's a couple steps in the process for renewals and verification of credentials, those types of things. So they have 45 days. If they're after June 30th and they have 45 days, yep, they have that late
45
fee.
days.
Yep, but then there's the 90 days, and if they're BEI and they haven't renewed, then they have to retest. Does that kind of answer the question?
So Sarah,
I guess. Yeah, I just got as guys that online, they very good. Thanks.
Thank you.
see if, can you hear us online?
Testing.
We're just going to pause for 1 minute to make sure we can hear.
Can you hear me now? Testing.
Better. I know it helps to speak kind of close to the microphone as well. Just a trick. Sarah, go ahead.
So the grace period is 45 days. So you have 45 days after you expire in order to reinstate. Is that correct? Or you are SOL? And the BEI is 90, is that what you said?
So there's a 45-day period and then they'll get their late fee and they need to submit. And then they have 90 days before they have to retest for BEI. So if they haven't renewed within
Oh.
90 days, they'll need to retest. However, if it's 45 days, they'll just have a late fee, kind of a grace period for
understand now.
45 days.
That's, I guess, that's what.
Yes.
They have 5 days for without certification because they're supposed to get a process.
Without renew. Right, because like I said, if somebody submits last minute, we give them, or maybe a day or two late, we give them that 45-day grace period.
This is Mitch speaking. So I think we have two separate issues here. One being, if I submit on, say, June 29th, my paperwork, the department doesn't have enough time to process that, get that done by July 1st, right?
Right.
So you post that certification in the registry that it's good until you have time to go ahead and finish the processing of the application, make sure that they don't have what they're supposed to, correct? How long does that situation usually, last? So you get something on June 29th, an application. How much time does BCHS need to? I know that time of year is busy. I get
Sure.
it. June 30th to July 1st, I get the time frame. So not trying to place blame or point a finger, but just wondering how long is the process? So if I submit it, everything hasn't been verified, you haven't, double check CEUs and all that stuff. How long does that process usually take?
Sure. So it depends, because I know I've mentioned in the past, we're small but mighty. So we try to get through this as quickly as possible. Depends how many applications we receive all at once. If everybody submits on June 15th, it's going to take us a week or two to get through those. So a couple weeks. So if it depends on the volume that we receive at the last minute or maybe at the beginning, whenever it is. But usually within a couple of weeks, we can get those processed. And so that's the part of the reason for that 45-day grace period, also to allow people that say, oops, I forgot, I need to hurry up and get my stuff in. Accidents happen, things happen, people are busy. So usually within a couple of weeks, we can get those processed. And online, it'll just show once they're after that June 30th date that they're expired, but it'll also, so anybody can check and see the registry, say we're expired, but we do have a notice on the website that says for this, this time period during renewal season, individuals that are expired, it may be due to the application process, and then they are still allowed to work for that time frame.
Speaking again. So that is different than my previous understanding. I was under the impression that if I submitted on June 29th, you would go ahead and put on the registry online that my certification was current and still good. But now I feel like you're saying that it's expired.
Colleen, am I correct on that it shows expired, but we have that notice, just to make sure I haven't mixed it up, that notice on the website saying that they're expired, but it can continue to work.
Yeah, that's correct. When we put a notice on the website indicating that you can continue to work while we're processing an application. And
So-
that is supposed to be temporary. You're correct.
And that is, partially because of our outdated system. I hate to keep blaming that, but we worked really hard because we know BPL actually just had the individuals drop off the registry. And so they just disappeared. So our workaround was that they'll remain on the registry. We put the notice out there, and hopefully that'll try to give us enough of a buffer to process those applications that come in close to June 30th, and individuals can continue to work, because we hear feedback that there's contracts out there that they've already set up appointments and, times to work. So we tried to figure out a workaround, and this is what we've done the past couple of years when we've had the renewal season.
Okay, so this is still Mitch. So the name is there, it shows up there, and it says expired next to it, or it says nothing.
I believe it says expired, correct, Colleen?
It has a date. So for instance, if we were processing your application that you submitted, June 29th of 2023, your listing would say, June 30th, 2022. That it has like it doesn't say expired next to it. It just has like a category above it, I believe. Yeah, and then underneath it has a date. So
The date of
and then
expiration.
we go in and we change the date when we process your application. So the listing would say June 30th, 2023.
Or if we're renewing it 2023 season, it would say June 30th, 2024 expiration.
Yes.
Okay, so when will BCHS, remove a person's name, actually remove their name from the registry?
Colleen, correct me if I'm wrong, it stays on there as expired, correct?
Yeah, so we are working with the system, and we're trying to update the system to do some dropping of individuals that didn't reinstate. So we are working on that. It's been it's a progress or a process. We are working on that and hope to update that. Right now, we manually would go in and make somebody inactive. So we're working on a workaround for that.
So, and there is some value to having somebody remain on showing them expired in case they do come back and want to retest, or, something happens. So having some historical information, there is a little bit of value to that, but we are trying to get a better case scenario with that updated system.
Diana, this is Diana speaking. My question to you. I'm not feeling quite all there this morning. So you're saying 45 days. You have the 45-day grace period and then the 90 days. So is that cumulative,
Correct.
or is it 45 days and then thereafter 90 days they have to retest? So is it 45 plus 90?
No, it's 45 and then 45 after that. So 90 days from expiration. Does that make sense?
Yes and no, but that's a long time for someone to be working without credentialing, especially in a school system.
James? Yeah, this is James. I have a couple comments. I've experienced, struggling with that, submitting things to be processed and then getting an email back saying, no, we're not going to accept this, this, and this. And then your comment said that, there's a 45-day, grace period there where there's some flexibility. You can keep working. But the email that comes says your certification is inactive, period.
Mhm.
So that means to me, I can't work. So, when I show that to where I do work, then they go, okay, well, you can't work because you're inactive. So in that email, I would suggest that if there really is that grace period of 45 days, then that should be on that email somewhere saying
Sure.
you have 45 days. As opposed to, yeah, I see it on here. It says it on here, but I need that to be in the email and not to say inactive like it currently does.
Mhm.
And then secondly, a suggestion too, and I don't know how the board feels, but in my experience, I'm a visual learner. So, looking at, just sentence after sentence after sentence after sentence, in print is, if we could have a timeline or something that says, okay, at this point, at this point, at this point, that would really help me understand, okay, this is when the 45 days starts. Here's where the 90 days is. I can look at that on a timeline so that I know better what to do. That's, just a suggestion. These slides are great and the information's all there, but if we could have something a little bit more visual with an actual, some graphics, not a graph or not just numbers, but
Sure.
some type of graphic. So I could make the connection. Okay, I got this written information. I got the graphic. I can put that together. I know that would help me a lot.
That makes sense.
And that would also. This is Diana speaking. This is Linda speaking. I have a question. So this paperwork right here, we have a long list of interpreters that are working in Michigan that are on the registry. And if you print it, they show up multiple times and it does not print very well. It's a mess. It is a complete mess. It's quite disappointing. So I do think this needs to be fixed and cleaned up. I know with the pandemic and all those things, people are running behind, but I rely on this being printed out and I don't feel comfortable using this because I don't know if someone is expired or not. It needs to be fixed.
Sure, absolutely. I think that's a good point.
I know that Laura is in charge of this, but who in particular is in charge of this? Is it you? Oh,
All me? No, no.
sorry, excuse me.
It's okay. No,
Everybody, all eyes on you.
I'm blaming this guy back here. No, we really do understand that there's frustrations with the registry and the system we have now, and we'd like to get that fixed. And like I said, yesterday, we met with a group and talked a little bit about if their capabilities to help us replace the system. So we are working on that. And then James, just to mention, the inactive process and the emails that you're getting, I think it's a good suggestion. Just to note that our processes have changed, quite a bit from when BPL had it because of feedback like this. So we'll double check that, but it might have changed unless you've gotten a recent email on that. It has been. Okay.
Yeah, this is James speaking. Yeah, the email came from BCHS.
Okay.
So it didn't come from BPL. So,
Okay.
just saying.
Yep. We'll take a look at it and see if there's something we can assist with. And if you want, you can forward that to me. I'm on the invite for this and I'm happy to take a look at
can
it to
do
see
that.
if there's something we can do to make it clearer.
This is Mitch. So, is there anything as a board, or, people in the community, is there anything we can do to help BCHS with the process of getting a new system? I know it's a money issue. I get it. Money is number one, but do we need to be talking to our local reps or, is there anything, you have any tips for us to help with that process?
Sure. Larry, do you have anything? I don't.
This is Larry Horvath. Just to introduce myself to the new board members. I am Larry Horvath. I'm the director for the Bureau of Community Health Systems. So I oversee this program with Heather, along with many other programs. To take just a brief step back, if you would let me just give you a little insight for the new board members. Our Bureau oversees licensing and certification from hospitals to surgery centers to nursing homes to adult foster care, camps, homes for the aged. So we have a variety of provider types. And then, so we usually deal with facility agencies and programs. The individuals that we work with are qualified interpreters and certified nurse aides. Usually that would be the Bureau of Professional Licensing, but in these two instances, they're with us. One of the things that I would encourage the board to think about and get ready for is we have been working with Diana and Mitch over the last couple of meetings and the administrative rules. And the administrative rules are going to be very important to answering these questions to provide clear guidance. So we need you to think about what are the pitfalls in the community so we can write them in. And one of the things in this discussion today is, what is the timeline when I don't submit any paperwork at all? Do I continue to work, or do I have this 45-day grace period, or is the 45-day grace period only because I submitted my paperwork and the department's processing it? So we need to be clear in this set of administrative rules. So when we bring this forward to you in what we hope, I know Diane and Mitch, we hope it's going to be the next meeting that we'll have this done and bringing it to you guys. But to think about these scenarios, what did we miss? And this would be one scenario that we hope to address in the rule set. This provides the clearest, the rules give us the opportunity to tell the department how to process these things. And, should it be 45 days? Should it be 30 days? Should I be able to continue to work? What if I don't submit paperwork at all? And what about the retesting? So you got 45 days. And we will get that timeline, because I am too a visual person. We'll get that for you guys at the next meeting to kind of say, okay, if I submit my paperwork, I got 45 days. Is that 45 days for me to submit additional information because it's incomplete? Or is that 45 days because the department takes 45 days to process it? So we'll get these answers for you. As far as the list that was brought up and the IT system, Heather and the team has been working on that. Any database build, there's really two things. It's money and it's IT expertise. And in today's market, it is hard to recruit IT expertise. So we continue to struggle with that. We are building multiple databases and multiple licensing systems. To replace the MOIS system, it's going to be $500,000 to $2 million to replace the MOIS system. That's the kind of dollars it takes to replace a licensing database that's going to be interactive, user-friendly, that can produce the ad hoc reports that we need. But we're dedicated to this. So we are hoping to move up the QI database replacement sooner than later. That's why Heather's already exploring other vendors. The vendor, one vendor that we talked to yesterday is Michigan State University and Yale University that runs our background check database. Their expertise is fantastic. So we're thinking about them as a potential vendor for the QI database. I do want to mention one other thing why I have the opportunity. I do want to thank our staff. I want to thank LCC and the boards and welcome the new board members. But one thing, we are trying to dedicate more resources to this. So advocacy, we recommend anytime you can talk to somebody that says, more money for this program is great. We are looking to find more money. I'm pretty, Mitch and Diane is hearing this in our internal work groups. I'm a stickler for following the law. And if we don't have the jurisdiction, then we need to get the jurisdiction or we can't do it. And there are some things that we're going to have to do in the administrative rule that's going to be a step back as far as funding. There are certain fees in the administrative rules that have been promulgated over the years that I really don't think is the appropriate way. You really want to go through the legislature when it comes to fees and funding, and that makes the program stronger. The good news is that our bureau is willing to dedicate, and we take all of your comments to heart. So two things we've been exploring since these meetings have started. We will be posting another position. So we will now have 3 full-time positions to this. The new position, we have a preference that it would be somebody that has ALS experience. So we're bringing somebody from the community there, if we can communicate.
This is Sarah.
Yes.
Say it.
I'm sorry.
Let's back up.
American Sign Language experience. Yeah. I'm sorry. The other thing that the board said that we're looking as a potential fourth position is somebody from the community, somebody that is deaf, blind, or hard of hearing. So we're looking at a fourth position as well, because one of the things that I truly take to heart is people have to really live the experience to run the program. And none of us, this program was gifted to us and none of us really had experience. So I'm learning a lot. And, I reached out inside the state to just say, hey, can I go meet with somebody who has an employee that, is deaf, blind, or hard of hearing? And the surprising thing to me, I mean, it's really not surprising because I thought of our bureau with 160 employees and we don't have an individual that meets that qualification. And then, I asked, is there somebody that I can meet with just to learn, how do we work together and everything like that? And I haven't found anybody in the state that has that experience outside of civil rights. So these are things we're taking from the board. So we will come back on that list to make sure we address that list becomes useful and not have a lot of people involved.
Oh, this is Sarah.
Oh, sorry.
Rosen. Having some technical issues here. Hold on one moment. We're ready.
Okay. Yep. So these comments are helpful, but definitely start to put your questions together, because when we bring this rule set before you, this is where we're going to get clarity on how to run this program with your input to say, make sure that the rules, and Diana keeps saying that in our meetings, is how does the community read these rule sets? Because these rule sets are very bureaucratic. They seem to be, but the rule sets are geared towards the interpreter, but it should also be geared towards the community so they understand what is required of the interpreter. So sorry to ramble on. I hope I answered one of the questions along the way.
Go ahead, Diana.
This is Diana. I appreciate James' idea of the visual timeline, the 45 days and 90 days. I also think it would be nice if we put suggested timelines as far as when to submit your work, so that it'll be on time. So perhaps it would be by June 1st, you would be able to get everything submitted and processed, because individuals may not realize how the state works and how long it takes to have things done. They might be thinking that you're at the office 24/7. And I think that would be a good idea for people to have an idea of how long the process actually takes. And that would be more proactive as opposed to encouraging people to wait till June 29th and they'll have this grace period. But if we give them suggestions and they are aware of that, then come July 1st and you haven't submitted it, I would say too bad. You were already aware. That's, again, my opinion. As far as the deaf, blind, and hard of hearing individuals, for them to look up on the registry and see that this person is credentialed, but, oh, wait, they're expired. So why is their name on there? And how can I argue with my appointing authority that I can or cannot use that interpreter? And the appointing authority might have the ability to have a conversation without the deaf person being aware of that and it becoming an argument. So having things be transparent on whether or not you can work and making that very clear in black and white.
Yeah, this is Sarah, just to go along with that. What's happening right now, it's sticky, it's confusing. I can see a person, in a doctor's office, or one place I know they go to the doctor often. They always check the registry all the time to make sure the person's certified. So, if you come in and show them my certification and it says expired, how do they know? How are they going to see that? What, you can still work, or what? It's not clear, and it needs to be way less convoluted than it is right now. So I would agree with Diana. We need to make that crystal clear.
This is Larry. This is Larry. One of the things that, and I know Heather says and apologizes for, we're working with an old database, which requires us to be very paper intensive. The new database will take away the paper intensiveness because it will be automated to an extent to where our staff can do more important things than just processing paper. But to your point, there has to be a visual effect to this, which is, one is, my paperwork has been submitted, and then that says, because it's submitted, you can continue to work. If it says expired, that means you haven't submitted, and expired, you can't continue to work. And that's the
Yes.
importance of these administrative rules, that we make it absolutely clear. Now, when you guys think about these administrative rules, always be careful of what you ask for. Because once we put it in there, we will be required to enforce. So if we say, geez, if you haven't submitted, there is no 45-day grace period. And we tell people, no, you can't work anymore. That's the board's wishes. There will always be this, but on this one case, can you make an exception? And we need to make sure that we all understand that when we put these in there, that this is how we're going to enforce it.
Go ahead, Diana.
This is Diana speaking. I have a question here. With the other professions, do they have extensions or do they have to submit their paperwork on time in order to work?
So it really depends on the regulations. So like in the Bureau of Professional Licensing and a health professional license, they have a 30-day grace period. But whenever you give a grace period, it really should be written into the regulation, either the law or the administrative rule. The department, one, it tries to give a grace period because it's just trying to be flexible, because we know there's some, in the COVID period, there was a rationale on being a little bit more flexible during COVID. But this is why it's important that we make sure that our administrative rules reflect what you guys perceive is what we need to make the standard in Michigan be. So if we don't think there should be a grace period, we need to clearly write that into the rules. And I think there's a difference between somebody submitting their paperwork and waiting for the department compared to somebody that doesn't submit anything at all.
Correct. This is Sarah. I completely agree with that statement. Thank you. Along the lines of the system, since we're talking about that. I was curious, would we be able to send reminders for the 4-year cycles? Because I'll be honest with you, I have absolutely no idea when my 4-year cycle is and when it's up. No clue, no idea. Until somebody says, oh, hey, you need to get your ethics CEUs. And then all of a sudden I'm, trying to shuffle through paperwork here. So maybe that's something we could put in the back of your mind here. If we could send out reminders for those who are getting closer to their 4-year cycle ending, and letting them know that where they're at as far as that CEUs go. So off of that subject, I wanted to add something else relating to the rules and CDIs. I also want us to take into consideration that we should allow deaf performers to work within the state of Michigan for concerts and things of that nature. I know that my nephew, he would be an incredible performer. He would outdo me by not even comparable, so much better. So having that opportunity to do those types of work, I would love to be able to pull him into that because he's so much better than me. But according to the law says no, that's not possible because he isn't a professional interpreter. But as we're seeing now with the Super Bowl and it's becoming more public and viral with the deaf performers, I would love to allow opportunities for deaf performers to work in that arena without requiring them to be a professional interpreter. Because perhaps they don't want to be, or maybe they do want to become a CDI. But at this moment in time, we do not have that option, that opportunity here in the state. So I wanted us to put that on our plate and think about that. And it's something to consider when we're looking at the rules, talking about the deaf performers, possibly bringing them in and providing them an income as well.
This is Rowan. I'd like to piggyback onto that. Right now in the west side of the state, many of our deaf people there have low English proficiency skills. They go to the doctor's office, or if they have to go to a hospital, very often a normal certified interpreter, they can't understand, or they don't understand the language, or the deaf person doesn't understand the interpreter. And, we need some flexibility to use deaf interpreters. I'm not saying CDI, certified deaf interpreters, but deaf interpreters, a deaf person themselves that can match their language and provide access to that communication. You know, I would love to see that flexibility to be able to use DIs in those situations.
And this is Linda speaking. And adding to that, I have to agree because I see lots of clients say that all the time, saying, I don't understand the interpreter. I don't understand. I don't understand. And we'll say we don't understand the interpreter, and then we'll switch interpreters, and then they get upset or they don't want to. I mean, it happens quite often with MLS. As far as MLS, we need to have that access provided to them because right now their language is broken and
What do you mean by MLS?
minimum language skills.
Okay, thank you.
I get a call from a person every morning and they get angry and I get up and get on the call and they'll be complaining about something and I'll say, whoa, 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 give me a moment, show me the paper, take a picture of that paperwork, and I'll actually have to sign and interpret the paperwork to them. And they march off and I don't know, this is what I was told you. So this is the type of scenario we need to work more on that and creating that access. This is Diana speaking. I know I keep repeating myself, keep bringing it up. The law says we are supposed to provide a relay interpreter or a DI. But that law passed a long time ago, and we have not made one move to allow our deaf community in the state of Michigan who have the skills to do this work. We have not given them the space to work, but we'll pay incredible amounts of money for people to come out of state to come work here. I mean, we don't even have a workshop for them here. So there's a lot of times where an interpreter who isn't qualified will come in and the deaf person is at risk and the appointing authority has no clue that the two of them are not communicating effectively. So I would really like to move the DEI subject up on the line here as a priority, and that DEI process, let's make that a priority.
This is Rowan, yet we need that like today.
This is Linda. Yes, that's correct. This is Sarah. I completely agree. And I also want to take a moment to say thank you and thank you for joining the board. I really appreciate having the west side of the state, having deaf representation from the west side over here and being able to see your perspective. And I feel honored to have new people, deaf people, and we also have another person who's joined. But I want to formally tell everyone, thank you and welcome. I'm happy to have you here. This is Linda. Thank you.
Go ahead, April. This is April. And maybe I just don't know or understand the process, but based on the comments about reaching out to Texas, talking about CDI, that certification test. I mean, we already lease the BEI. I mean, is it not simple to just add the CDI to that, to what we're already leasing from Texas? I mean, we're already paying for that test. Is there something extra for the CDI?
Colleen, do you need one?
This is Colleen speaking. So that is a question we can ask Texas. Like I said, when we received the program, the performance exams that we have right now in the contract with Texas is for the BEI Basic, Advanced, and the Master. So that's what the contract says currently.
Yeah, I understand that. I just feel like, we've mentioned that, over and over and over. Seems like every meeting. So I'm just curious if, are we close to a resolution or we're just hanging on to that, waiting to see something? I mean, is there any progress, any movement, anything getting us closer to a resolution, an answer?
And this is Sarah. What's the issue or what's the holdup?
We will take this and we'll definitely come back with an answer at the next board meeting on that. We'll get a clear answer on the, why we can't add it from Texas if Texas is already doing it. Is it they're prohibiting us, or is it just something that Michigan hasn't requested in the right manner? Or is there a logistics of why we haven't implemented?
This is Diana. Why can't we create a temporary DI? Well, okay, so some states have that don't have a BEI, CDI that don't have that. They allow individuals to work and practice. So when the Texas BEI CDI test arrives to them, they're prepared to take it as opposed to waiting till it comes. Because if we wait and we don't have any work experience for these DIs, they don't have any courses that are available to them, then when by the time the test gets here, they won't be prepared. So what could we do to prepare these DIs for the pathway of becoming a CDI? So that way, when the time comes, they'll be ready to make that transition.
Yeah, this is Linda. From my understanding and talking with, other people out in the community, those who want to take or who want to get a CDI certification, the written test, they typically fail, and that's, a shame. Why? Why can't the test be modified and still meet, the expectations? If it's in English and our primary language is ASL, why can't that be fixed? I'm not trying to say, hey, I can pass it, look at me, but there needs to be some collaboration working together so that the written test for the CDI can be modified a little bit. Our language is different, you speak, we sign. So just saying. Yeah, this is April. Does anyone know if Texas, their CDI performance, does anyone know if that requires English proficiency prior to doing that?
This is Linda. I'm sorry. What is a TEP?
Yeah, it's English proficiency test. Do we know, like for BI 1, 2, and 3, it's required? What about for the CDI? Because you're correct. It should be separate. This is Mitch speaking. So my understanding is Texas starts with the BEI. And then they have different levels, right? They used to call it 1 through 5. Then it became, the middle one became basic. And then the next one up was advanced. And then there was master. And so, we got that here. We changed the name back to 1, 2, and 3, 1 being the lowest, 2 middle, 3 high. So now other states have the BEI, and we're the only state that calls it BEI 1, 2, 3. They are all basic, advanced, and master in every other state. So during the next rules, we're also hoping to change that. So we're, synonymous with everybody else. But to your point, Texas has the BEI, basic, advanced, master. It's my understanding that they accommodate that test for deaf people. So a deaf candidate can take it, they don't have to take it like a hearing person would. I don't know how they accommodate that, but it's my understanding that they do change the test. Or they did, recently.
Was that effective? This is Linda.
Well, again, I don't know. For some, maybe yes, for some, maybe no, but I do know that Texas has been, developing, pouring a ton of money into their own DI test, BEI-DI. So it's going to be a separate test because, right, we know it's two different skills, right? What a hearing interpreter needs to do and what a deaf interpreter would do. Those are different skills. And that's the reasons why there should be different roles, correct? So for RID, their certified deaf interpreter certification, I agree with you. Most deaf candidates fail the English portion, the written portion. If they were to pass that and move on to the performance, then most of them would pass. So it's very sad. We don't have any power here in Michigan to tell them to do that. I mean, we can tell them all day long, RID, they need to change the CDI and how they proctor that test, but sadly we can't. So, you know, we have no power to tell RID anything to do. And then thirdly, you know, which is interesting, very interesting in other states, like Diana was mentioning, you know, what's their process for a deaf interpreter? I mean, we don't want to just, you know, pick one out of a bag and say, hey, you're a DI now. You know, we got to have, you know, what do they have? There's got to be some requirements. And what do we, as a board, the deaf community, deaf blind community, hard of hearing community, what do we feel is appropriate requirements for a DI? Does a DI need some type of supervision, you know, from a certified deaf interpreter or something? I don't mean somebody, you know, following them around, seeing what they're doing, but when I say supervision, I mean more like a kind of like social worker or a counselor, right? In the counseling industry, I mean, you know, you got to be one-on-one with the patient. You know, you don't have a third party in there, quote unquote, supervising and making, you know, seeing what they're doing. But they talk, they have their appointment, and once it's done, that intern or that person would talk with their supervisor and say, well, you know, I think, you know, this worked well, but maybe this didn't work well. So there's a feedback loop. There's some debriefing that goes on. So, you know, for that, my concern is for a DI, I mean, I personally would like to see some type of structure in place so that we can't just decide here, you know, it's got to be put into the rules as well. And that is, you know, of course, my opinion, but that's how I feel.
This is Diana. I was the co-chair of the rules way back in the day. Boy, this makes me feel old. The Division on Deaf, Blind, and Hard of Hearing at that time was responsible for modifying the rules. And at the time, the director tried to establish a DEI or DI. And they had a roster of how many hours that the interpreter would be required to have as far as experience goes, classes. She made up her own English proficiency test. So I applied and I got it. I had 28,000 hours of interpreting and I had a bachelor's degree. I took the written test, the English proficiency test, and they gave me a provisional DI certification, understanding that if Michigan adopted a BEI CDI test, I would have to transition to that. I held that certification for 6 months. And then that department decided that it wasn't appropriate to show that they felt that it was showing favoritism to 3 or 4 other people who took those similar tests, those same tests, but did not have the same amount of hours or enough hours of interpreting experience. And during that time, I had that for 6 months, and they informed me that I could continue to work if I had gotten waivers from the deaf people. And for me, I refused to ask a deaf person to give up their rights. Please hold, we're having a technical issue. So I've had this experience with having a DI provisional card for 6 months, and they took my money for the test that never happened. But then they decided, no, you can't have this credential, but you can still go work as long as you have a deaf person sign a waiver. And I refuse to do that. So it is possible, is what I'm trying to say.
This is Mitch speaking. Thank you, Diana. Yeah, for giving us that history. And, you know, I mean, I just looked.
Total disclosure over here.
Yes, appreciate that. So I just look and it says say DI. Has a definition of what it means. A deaf interpreter, abbreviated DI. It says deaf or hard of hearing individual who holds a division recognized credential, certification, and interpreter training, and or experience in the use of gestures, mime, props, etc., drawings. And so what I would ask BCHS is, can you take a look at, what is currently authorized or what our current authority is? Can you look at that and provide a state recognized DI if possible?
We can, this Larry will report, we'll do the research and report back to you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Just what I would encourage the board to do is, because we're going to meet in August, and I don't want to speak for Diane and Mitch, but I think we'll have a product ready for you in August. And it's really going to be important. You guys are the experts. You tell us what the standard should be in Michigan, and we will tell you, do we have the authority to do it? That's really our role, not really what it should be, but do we have the authority to implement it? And I will tell you, the specificity of the law is pretty vague. And what it delegates on to the rules is what are the minimum credentials and the minimum requirement standards that we're going to have. So I think we have a lot of flexibility for this board to determine certain categories. But our job is really, you guys bring us the idea. Our job is just to research and say, yes, we can do that. We'll have two questions. One is can we do it by law? Do we have the statutory authority? And can we administer it? There's two different questions, because if we can't administer it, or we can administer it, but it's going to cost us a lot of money and a lot of resources, then we have to make a value judgment.
Yes, this is Mitch speaking. So yes, understand that, and we're going to go ahead and work on the new rules. But what I would like to see is, I'm not a perfect situation, but an improvement to the situation. And then I also want BCHS to investigate our current authority, what we have today, right now, under the current rules. Like Diana mentioned.
Yep.
It seems like there is some authority there. James, go ahead. Do you want to or did you have another comment, sir? Okay. So this is James. Wow. Love this back and forth in this discussion. If you don't mind, I'd like to, take all that and maybe, give my analysis if appropriate. All these ideas that have been brought to the table are great. They're all valid. They're all important, but are they all equal and fair? And that's really the important part. I've been coming, to these meetings and sitting out there and watching and seeing the back and forth and the discussions going on. And then the next meeting comes up and same issues. Next meeting comes up. It's, oh, yep. Okay. Yep. And it's the same issues. So I feel like, it's a benefit for our communities to all work together. And if they could post our priorities like now, the board is working on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that the community, like I was previously sitting out there, knew what was going on, knew what this board was working on, and look at that saying, oh, I have an idea, and then I can add that, or, oh, okay, they're working on this. Well, I have a comment. I'd like to add that, or, here's my perspective, or, here's a success or something that I could share. Like Mitch said, this board, how can we support, you, the authority, give you the information that you need. If we can, get that from professional resources, gather that, community resources, gather those experiences, successes, strategies, put that all in a nice bundle and hand that over, then they would be able to, get to work with maybe more tools. So that's just one idea that I have is, can we prioritize what's being worked on so that the community, has some trust in us. They know that we are, furthering their cause, their issues, and their goals. And, we can go ahead and gather those resources and provide them and, actually support what we're noticing. I mean, it's an important part of the process. Okay, this is Mitch. Other comments? Linda?
Quick question. So you're talking about the expiration. Can we post this saying this is expired? Because it never says expired on here. So that puts us at risk.
This is April. Did you print that from the database, Linda? Did you print that straight out of the database?
Yes, this is the state registry. So this is from the state registry. I printed this. This is Sarah. So, okay, so what you're printing is different than what you're seeing electronically, because electronically it'll say expired or it'll say something like you can still work, but you're saying that the printed version doesn't have that information. I'm confused. Can someone clarify this for me? Anyone?
James? Yes, because it happened to me and I've been through it. There is no word expired. It just shows a date. So you can see a date and go, oh, that date is old. So therefore it must be expired. And that's what people assume, why is this, bad date on here? And that, that was my experience. Yeah, it's an old date, but that means expired, right? Well, I don't know. It's all assumptions. And so until they process and approve the paperwork, maybe, and then the new date is in there and it's obvious, but their approval, that old date sits there for however long it takes for that paperwork to get processed and for it to get changed. So you're right. The word expired, or in process or something, or active. There's none of those things in
This
there
is-
to show clearly.
This is Rowan. We need that. And Linda, I need that as well. I need that clarification.
This is April. So a question to you. When you research and see how much, money it costs for, this new database system, when are you close to that decision? I mean, when you get close to that decision, are you going to come to the board and get some ideas, some feedback from us? Ask the community, what they want to see, what everybody thinks should be in there, what the process should look like. I mean, is that something we can be involved in as you get close to that?
Anytime this is Larry, anytime we build a database, we have user acceptance testing. So we will definitely have board members involved. We won't have the whole board, just like on the administrative rules. We've asked for a couple of volunteers. We'll have board members involved. We'll have qualified interpreters involved, and we'll have people, stakeholders involved from the community to the associations,
Perfect.
whatever, because they're going to be using this too, because they want to see who, and we need to make it friendly for them as well. So yes, in any of our database builds. Now, when we will come to the board to tell you that we are going to take it on in 2024 or whatever it is. Because of limited resources and the way databases get built, obviously there's a priority. There's massive databases being built right now. We have 2 major systems inside our bureau alone that are being built. Each system costs us $2 million to build. And it takes a lot of resources to build these. So I am trying to figure out a way to squeeze the QI in ahead of schedule. But we have not made that final decision yet. But there is a case to be made here because it is so paper intensive that it needs to be replaced sooner rather than later. When it comes to the administrative rules too, I would suggest that at the end of the day, because Mitch, you have been working on these rules for many, many years. And at some point in time, we need to have, not the perfect be the enemy, and we need to move these rules because there's a lot of good in these rules. And then we can always, once we get a new rule set out, we can always come back to other issues. But yes, you will have involvement and we will come to you and we'll report on what it costs. We like to make that public so that way maybe somebody will say, geez, we have $500,000 sitting around that will. earmarked for you.
I see
I
Diane.
I recognize Diana, but if you don't mind hanging on for just 1 second, can we take like a 5-minute break?
That's great because that was actually my question.
Ironic. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. Okay. We'll call the meeting back to order. Any last questions for Larry? Heather?
So very much every question that we have brought to you. And I am looking forward to the answers you're going to bring to us at the next meeting. And I appreciate you being consistent about that and not forgetting about those questions we have. I truly do believe that this is the best place for us to be placed is under you. So I want to thank you all for your effort and your work.
I'll second that. Yes.
Thank you. We appreciate that comment, Sarah. Thank you, everyone.
This is April. I actually do have another question. I don't think it'll be a simple answer, but, or maybe it will be, maybe it will be. We'll see. That is my goal. Ethics, CEUs. I just want to be clear. It must say ethics in the title, correct? Is that the only way we're going to get approved or get ethical CEUs approved?
This is Sarah PPO as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, though for RID.
So that's a great question. Colleen, I'm learning as we go, so bear with me. I'm not 100% certain on that. Colleen, do we know, or do we need to come back on that, circle back on that question?
This is Colleen speaking. So we have some discretion when we look at certificates, and we appreciate it when the application, tells us what you're thinking it's counted for. So we can read the title, we can look at the certificate, we can also look up the course online if there's any information. So if interpreters can help us by indicating, because a lot of times it says professional studies, but they want to count it towards ethics. And a lot of times it is an ethical type of course that we would consider.
Okay, thank you. And then one more. So, looking to the next, ahead to May, there's many EP requests that are going to, go out because college graduates and et cetera, they're going to be wanting to take that test. So I thought that I read somewhere that you would come to a specific place to proctor that TEP test for a group of people that could be offered like an exception, a special or a college campus or at a business. If we had many applicants, like if you got 15, 16, 17 applicants, you would come and set that up in like a room here on site, or does that have to be in a state government facility?
Another great question. Right now, currently, we do groups of TEP exams at the in Lansing at the Ottawa building. There are some, and not saying we can't do it, we could look into that. There are a lot of factors that people will bring in, like lighting and comfortable environments, things like that, that make have an effect, the noise level. We have to be very careful about noise that, you know, if there's outside noise, the people coming in and out or walking, like in the setting, for instance, you know, possibly if a group of people walked by, it could be distracting. So we have to have an environment that's fairly controlled. So we haven't done that yet. But I mean, we can talk about it. It's just something we haven't done because of the control and the environment that we have to have in order to offer a fair, consistent test.
Okay, thank you.
This is Sarah. To talk about the ethics piece that you just brought up, as far as workshops goes, I was on committee, we were looking at different workshops that are coming up and as far as approving them and denying them. But those who offer the workshops, it's important to make sure that you write down these things when you're asking for your BEI approval for the CEUs, that you have the 1 hour we'll be speaking about ethics and making sure that's broken down so that we as interpreters can get that ethics credit there and making sure that it is that it's transparent and very obvious that it's there. So those who take the workshop, when you have any type of ethics within your workshop, that you are including that in your description and also your application to submit approval for a workshop CEUs. And I just wanted to share that for everyone. This is Diana. One last comment. Something I had mentioned earlier. I had mentioned that there was no CDI in Michigan. That is incorrect. I do believe there is one. So we need to correct that mistake there. And secondly, so I've heard that when we're talking about workshops, that you provide some trainings, your department does that to those who want to become a licensed professional. Do you do presentations to consumers who utilize those services that are being credentialed? Do you have trainings for deaf and hard of hearing individuals on how the rules work, how to use an interpreter? What is basic, advanced, or master certification mean? What the difference between all of those? Because there's a lot of deaf people in the community that do not know the difference between those levels of certifications. And also the CDI, having that broken down and explained. Is that within your duties, or is that just something that someone in the wind decides to pick up and start hosting that type of educational piece?
Sure. I think that's a great question. I know in the past we've talked about education and how we really feel that this community could use more education opportunities from the state agency. And so I think those are great ideas. It would be helpful if the board has input on topics that we could discuss, like you just listed. I was trying to write as you were listing them, Diana. So, but if we could get something from you in writing to say, these are the topics the community could use education on, that would be really helpful. And then that way we can look at, as a department, offering those educational sessions, possibly partnering with the board to help offer those sessions, because we do offer for other areas. Like Larry had mentioned, we oversee several areas. And so we do offer education to providers, to those in the industry. And so that's something we know that this community could use. And actually, I was just talking to Larry this morning about growing our training program and how we can bring another person on. So I think that would be could be something that we potentially could add to that training program's list of goals to help partner with the interpreters to bring information to the community. So I think it's a great suggestion. Thank you. Oh, and Larry sorry. Go ahead, Diana.
Also, and this training could be offered online, done in sign language. So a deaf individual could go into your website and be able to view that, or even better yet, coming to the deaf community and seeing those deaf people and allowing the deaf community to be able to see you as well. That becomes a more collaborative process with your agency, because a lot of deaf individuals feel like, oh, government, oh, they're gonna not hear me. And they might feel oppressed by that. I think if we create that collaboration and that relationship, and maybe then you'll believe that the things that we're saying are not make-believe.
This is Rowan. I'd like to add to that comment too, partnering with, interpreters as well as deaf people. Giving presentations together. I mean, that would show them that, the agencies are willing to collaborate with the deaf community as well.
This is Linda. I'd like to add on to that. When you're talking about training, are you talking about training the interpreters and the deaf community? Are you talking specifically to interpreters who are working with the deaf? What are you referring to? This is Diana. I'm speaking to the training of the consumers who are utilizing interpreters, as well as something for the hearing service providers on deaf needs, deaf awareness, so that way they are able to get education in that way.
Yes, we need more of that.
Interpreters, they have this amount of education, they have that, but as far as the deaf consumers, we aren't getting that dialogue, that information. So that's my goal here.
Okay. Go ahead, Larry.
I would like to work with you on that.
This is Larry. So on the education piece, when you see this job posted, the job is called a human resource developer. And so Heather is an analyst with the department. She's more of the process, the bureaucratic side, the data gathering, the processing and things like this. The position we're going to be offering up is really for education. So now we will have to use that person in the short term for the bureaucratic side of processing the application. But we've developed this position because we want to do more education to the consumer, to the interpreters, and to the provider community. I did meet with our deputy director this week, and I met with our communication director. And one of the ideas, and I like your idea of priorities. You guys give us what your priorities are so we have better focus. But one of our priorities listening throughout these meetings is we have, and Director Hawks always says this, is we have to educate before we regulate. And so that's one of our primary focuses with what we will call a new program for us. We talked, I'm meeting with MHA, the Michigan Health and Hospital Association, on another topic, but I'm hoping to bring in a board member or two to talk about the interpreter program with the Michigan Health and Hospital Association, and another meeting to talk about what is the responsibility of the healthcare community. So I want to involve the board in more of these education sessions. I talked to our deputy director and our communication director within the last week. I'm encouraging to do more public service announcements. Laura does not really do a lot of public service announcements, but I think and I keep using the QI program as one of the great public service announcements. And one has to be for the consumer. What is my right in using these services, and how should these services be offered? The other one should be to the provider community of what is their obligation. And then the other, I can envision 3 public service announcements for targeted audiences. But when we do get to that stage, because the new communication director is going to talk to Department of Health and Human Services, see if we can partner on this. We will want to, again, have a couple of board members volunteer
I would be
on
happy to do
education.
that.
Yep. So we definitely support that idea. Because when we get to regulations, because one of the first things that we heard from the board was, are you enforcing the laws? And we need to do that as well. But I feel much more comfortable of enforcing the laws after I've known everybody knows what the laws really stand for. So, thanks.
Excellent. So this is Mitch. I think one thing that Heather mentioned that I just want to give a big resounding yes to, the email that goes out to the interpreters not for their new, but for their annual renewal for the registration. You said maybe prior to that going out, hey, do you remember? Here's some helpful tips, I 100% support from us on that. Don't forget, you need a picture of your ID, state ID, whatever, things like that included in that email to help with the process. So I totally support that. Okay, I think we're done with this portion. We thank you both. Thanks BCHS and the staff from them. Great work from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, are you two reading that letter? Did you read that letter from us? From Myriad?
This is Heather Keel speaking. The next agenda item is partner update. We have a statement from the Michigan Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf. Greetings. Thank you for the opportunity to brief you all on a few exciting things that Myriad has going on. First of all, we have upcoming elections for our executive board. President, secretary, and the member at large will all have the opportunity to vote new members in soon. Second, we have an exciting lineup for the upcoming spring conference being held on May 20th and 21st. Total of 12 CEUs possible. Please see our website, mirid.org, for more details on registering. I know there was mention of pass-fail rate testing information for the NIC. Unfortunately, CASLI only tracks overall results and does not track based on each state. She provided a website link that could be provided at a later date with that information. Also, I am happy to mention that Madonna University is now a testing site for the NIC. Overall membership concerns have been accessing BEI NIC testing. Availability and cost are growing concerns for the interpreting community. Thank you for allowing her the time to address the board, and she appreciates your service to the community. Signed, Erin Human, MIRID President.
This is Mitch speaking. Great. Thank you for reading that. Appreciate that statement. And we also thank to President Human as well for providing that statement to us. I believe the Vice Chair, Houston, has a motion that we ask Myriad and other organizations related to our field, the deaf community, et cetera, to provide some type of report or to come in person. That didn't happen today. Ms. Human wasn't able to be here physically, so we appreciate her taking the time to send us a statement. Moving down the agenda, I believe we're at public comment.
This is Colleen speaking. Was there a motion? No. Okay.
No, there was
Thanks
no
for
motion.
clarifying.
Yeah, I previously mentioned a motion that Vice Chair Houston had made, but no new motion. So on to public comment.
This is Colleen speaking. The next item on the agenda is number 8, public comment. We will now take public comment from individuals in the audience today at the in-person meeting. If anyone would like to speak, please come forward. Thank you. There does not appear to be any public comment today from anyone in the audience. The next portion of public comment is for those who are joining us on Zoom today.
Okay, the first comment we have was from Greg early on, I believe, when you were going over the statistics. Do you also count deaf interpreters not certified? It's permitted under our state's HC Act. The next comment is from Alana Leal, Michigan. I agree with James Chet. How do vendors or a deaf person who want to check interpreter certification and find out that a person has expired certificate and should not be interpreting? If they have proof of an email stating they can work out in the field within 45 days, then that interpreter is not punished to work. This also avoids a person filing a complaint with Laura as well. Thank you, Alana. Greg had a second comment. Does DODDBHH have any role with Laura? And we have a comment from Teresa Miracle. I agree with James and his suggestions for allowing all community people to give input. Okay, I see that Deb has raised her hand. Deb, I am going to promote you to panelist. And then you should be able to turn on your camera.
Good afternoon. I'm assuming you can hear me as soon as I see Erica moving.
Okay, Deb, you're all set.
Good afternoon. This is Deb Atwood. I'm the Executive Director for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services. I'm sorry I can't be there today. I am in full agreement with the DI point of deaf
Deb, I'm
interpreters.
sorry,
This
but
is
we
something
don't
that is desperate.
Have audio currently?
How about now?
Can we-
How about now? How about now? How about now? How about now? Can you hear me now? Hello. Thank you. Good afternoon. This is Deb Atwood. I'm the Executive Director for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services in Grand Rapids. I'm sorry I can't be there today. I typically am at your meetings. I am in full support, as is our agency, for DI interpreters, something desperately needed, especially on the west side. I'm assuming on the east side as well. Anything we can help to support this, we'd be more than willing to. And thank you all. Hearing all this conversation today, I piggyback on everything said. Thank you so much for everything that you are doing for our communities. Thank you.
I have not seen any other comments.
Thank you. The next agenda item is number 9, announcements. Are there any announcements today?
This is James speaking. I have a question. What does that mean when we say announcements? What do we mean specifically by announcements?
Do you have your birthday soon or something? This is, I'm just kidding.
This is Mitch. Anything you think would be relevant to the proceeding? Okay, this is James. Thank you. Then yes. The world is moving at a rapid pace. Things are changing. I'm super impressed with one thing I'm emphasizing TikTok, for example. It's fine if you don't use it or not, but it does have an influence to influence change. You know, how we take in media access, whatever. TikTok is fantastic at doing that. So it's super influential. And I would just ask the board, you know, when we think about how the community has access to what we post, you know, whether it's on the website, I mean, it's on the website, but how many people are going to the website? You know, we put blame, hey, you didn't look at the website, you know, that's on them. You know, how do they know where? How do they know it's big? You know, TikTok, again, is something that just feeds you information constantly, you know, and it really changes how people consume information. So I would suggest, you know, how many clicks does it take, you know, before you can actually get the information that you're looking for? And that's just one thing I would like to see us try to reduce to get the information to get out there quickly, is reducing those clicks.
This is Sarah. To add to that, that also reminds me that we don't even advertise this meeting well enough. We don't. I didn't know the Zoom link until I got the paperwork today. And now I'm, you know, trying to pass it off to friends who are asking me, contacting me, how do I access this meeting? How do you do that? And I'm like, oh, well, maybe the website. I wasn't even sure. So I think it's critical that we, BCHS or whomever, is intentional in their messaging and how they announce and give noticing to different agencies as well, making sure that other agencies are aware that this is going on and that they are able to share that information with their deaf consumers in their particular regions. And I do believe that we will get more engagement from the deaf community within the state of Michigan if we actually make an effort to put out messaging and advertise these meetings. So I don't feel like we're doing that enough. We need to share with the public more so that way they know they can participate because they do have a voice and they have feedback. And I hear it all the time. I hear these comments. So if they have a place where they can come and share that and are aware of it. And I do know since we've been working with the hospital, those hospital issues, we've heard stories. And you've heard stories that I've heard from others in the community that I passed on to you, but I think it'd be valuable for you to hear it from the source. So it's important that we start marketing these meetings more, because to me, it's a little bit hush hush and secretive. Information isn't transparent enough.
This is Linda speaking, going back to TikTok. Is that how you sign that? Is that TikTok? Well, I don't know. Okay. All right. But speaking about that, you know, and TikTok, you know, we also have to protect ourselves too. We don't want the Chinese stealing our information. So I'm a little bit opposed to TikTok. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want my identity stolen. So just throwing that out there. Technology scares me a bit.
So this is James. So when I'm talking about TikTok, I'm talking about flashes of information that you didn't ask for, that is just feeding you a constant stream of information that pops up based upon an algorithm. And that platform itself is influential and it is changing the way that people consume information. Which
Okay.
means It used to be, you could post things and that would be enough. That's not necessarily the case anymore. Sure, there's pros and cons to everything. But the approach that we take as the board and how we're consuming information, what would be most effective with our deaf community, and how they consume information, and how the interpreting field, those professionals, how they want that information. I believe that's a big piece of the puzzle. If we want to engage this community, how do they want to be engaged? So I was just putting that out there, some sort of advertisement or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's Facebook.
Diana said, well, not everyone has a Facebook. Well, Laura, board Facebook.
This is Mitch. So it sounds like the board has some interest in how the process and what the capabilities are of BCHS to disseminate information, publicize information. And so is that something that BCHS staff could, for our next meeting, is that something we could maybe talk about? Bring some
Yeah.
info?
I'm actually glad you guys brought that up. We did try a little harder this time. I know it's hard to get this out. So we did send a message to all interpreters that included the Zoom link. It included the information for this meeting, as well as some other information about renewals. So maybe that's where it got lost in communication because we sent out some, something along those lines, but we don't want to overload with too many emails. So also, but just to kind of know, and I will bring this to our communications section that's in our department. We do Lara Communications. We have a whole team that does work on getting communication out there. So I can ask them to put it out like on Facebook, or we can ask them. I mean, if that's something the board would like, we have discussed how do we get the word out there to allow other individuals, whether it be online, participate or in person. So just wanted to let you know that, yes, I think that's a great idea to start looking at other social media potentials that are safe without sharing your personal information, but just that this is an opportunity for anyone who wants to attend. It is a public meeting. And then one other comment on something that was just mentioned, I think maybe Sarah and Mitch brought it up about the our partner updates. I just wanted to mention, we've been encouraging and asking for in-person or online updates. Unfortunately, a last minute change happened on with RID, but Michigan RID, but I 100% agree with you. It would be really nice to have them in person. We were kind of bummed that Aaron couldn't make it today, but I just wanted to let you know that we are really trying to get that to happen for you, because we think it's important to be able to have these communications and have open discussions like that with other agencies. We have reached out to MDE to come, and civil service actually was going to come today, but rescheduled. So I said civil service, civil rights. We are working on partner updates. And if there are partner updates that the board would like us to reach out to that we have not reached out to, please let us know so that we can get to the right people and get them involved in our meetings, because we're working on it. Like I said, we gave a list of individuals our meeting dates for the board and invited everybody and have circled back multiple times. So just wanted to share the information.
This is Diana. I know I keep saying this. Can we have the posting and the announcement for the meetings be in sign language? Because deaf people will view this formal government document and see that, and they might not even think twice that it's something that they could be a part of. So I think we need to provide an ASL interpretation of that, or at least have an ASL video that explains what the meeting is, the information, and makes those connections. So that way it would be considered accessible. No, Diana's saying, no, you could do it. Sarah, you could do it. This
I-
is Linda. I completely agree with that, especially with the vocabulary that's used within that English document.
Yeah, this is Mitch. So Diana, you mean, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So, because I may not. So you mean something like, a video, not me, video, somebody else, not me. But yeah, we can, have it like a recording, just a general, very general, what's the meeting about, when the meeting's going to be, what's going to happen there. And we could use that every time as an announcement, replay that over and over.
You could just
and
change the
the
date.
Right. Correct. Or, or click on this PDF. It has the date there. It said something like that. Correct.
Yes, this is Diana, exactly. And explaining what exactly public comment means. Because perhaps someone might send a video of themselves in with their public comment. We're supposed to be serving the interpreters, but also the consumers.
Yeah, this is Sarah.
That needs to be involved all the way. This is not for us interpreters. We work for you. We provide services.
This is James, I agree.
This is about you, not about me. I'm just saying.
This is
that's-
Diana. This is also true, but
This is
but-
First, because if not them, we would not be working.
right. And
Yes, this
So-
is Linda. Exactly.
sorry, this is Sarah. I didn't realize I was sim coming there. I didn't realize the mic was on.
This is Mitch. Okay, so last comment, Mr. Check. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would volunteer to be involved in that, making that video announcement. Make things more accessible. I would volunteer to do that.
This is Diana. Not to be offensive, but I was thinking we could go around the table. I have a person of color, have a female. And
Excellent,
I think that
Excellent
would be a
idea.
better look as well. Linda saying sharing.
excellent.
This is Linda. I don't mean to go off subject here. But where's the deaf blind in all of this?
This is Mitch. So unfortunately, we don't select board members.
I realize that, but they're a key part of it
Right,
as well.
so we need to encourage the deafblind community to apply for a position and one of the appointed positions by the governor.
That needs to happen. This is Sarah. At one time, we did have a deafblind individual who was quite involved with the rules that are relating to the deafblind. But they are no longer serving. They have other obligations that they had to move on to. Oh, yes, I remember that name. This is Linda.
Okay, great. All right. So do I see a motion to adjourn? This is Rowan. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
This is Diana. I second that.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned.